Hello and welcome. It is now the 21st day of March 2021. And I'm going to talk about gambling, preseason baseball. Just gambling and preseason baseball. This is DraftKings, and I've done exceptionally well since I figured out the hockey code a year and a half ago. And preseason baseball might be the easiest game in town, other than maybe the Pro Bowl, the National Football League. But that's not this year, 1 year of event thing. There was no Pro Bowl this year. But preseason baseball, like last year, I was winning it every day. On Tuesday, I bet $1. I think I won like 100. Then I bet like 20. I won like 200. It was just sick. And then the Thursday, the final day, until that's when the shutdown happened. I think it was 3 days last year. It was just winning every day. And today on the Saturday session, mainly just cheering for my team, and I'm going to do the same thing again on Sunday. I won, and this is probably the worst winning lineup in anything that I've ever seen. $370 this one, and I kind of felt that I lost out on more because I bet like $58 on all the baseball lineups, and I have 10 of them. This is 2 of them. And I was going to bet another $150. I was going to buy $10, $15 games. I didn't do it. But this lineup finished in first in the knuckle puck. That's like, I don't know, like a $3 game, I think. A 25-cent game. A $2 game, so that's $2. And then I won the satellite tickets. These are like 10, 20-cent games, whatever. So we're at like $5.80 per line. So yeah, $3 game is a knuckle puck. So it was $3, five and a quarter, $5.50 with a second satellite quarter game, plus some satellites, like $5.80 a line. And I was going to go 15 on it. Unfortunately, I didn't, but that's fine. This has been an amazing roll that I've been on. And when you win an advantage game, just keep everything in check and understand how you win, how to improve your games and stuff like that. And that's what I like to do. My lineup had Steven Matz of the Toronto Blue Jays. I'm a Blue Jay fan. Matthew Boyd of the Detroit Tigers. Wilson Ramos, catcher of Pittsburgh. Miguel Cabrera, or Detroit rather, first baseman of Detroit. Semien of the Toronto Blue Jays, new second baseman they got, so that's why I would pronounce his name. Bobby Delbeck, that's an interesting story. This is guy who, like 100, he just keeps on getting home runs. I don't know about him. He's like, in fantasy terms, he was a naked player in the sense he was the only Boston guy that I played, and it was not because of the situation that I couldn't find anybody else's, because I had to get him in my lineup. He got 2 hits and a double. He's been. But if you look at him, this is an interesting star. I don't know about getting his rookie cards or how to invest on him on NFTs and whatnot. That is an interesting situation. Bo Bichette for the Toronto Blue Jays, Teoscar Hernandez, George Springer of the Blue Jays as well, and Jacoby Jones of the Detroit Tigers. So only had Detroit and Toronto players. That's pretty much how I'm going to go about doing it, and how I did with all of these lines in here. So this one wants me back 61. This is a big one, winning 370. I don't know. I didn't even check to see what it would have won in the big game. I didn't want to, but it probably would have been $1,000 or so. And then we have $67 win here. Steven Matz and Boyd is captain. But with all these lineups, you're going to see Bichette, Springer, Semien. Or I got took about a couple, I think. But, there's Bo Bichette. They're in all the lineups. There's Shoop instead on this one here. He didn't get any points. And then this one here won me 29. I was actually looking for Steven Matz merchandise after this, but everything looked or way expensive for where I was buying it at. And I didn't end up getting anything, as well as Bo Bichette because he had a good game. But winning lineup, I had a 3 score, which is terrible, a 4 score, and a 0 score. It's still one of my big scores. I got a 21. My pitchers got me 22, 14, a 14. I've seen, only barely over 100 points. So anyway, I'm going to look at Sunday's game and how to construct lineups. And for Sunday, I'm going to... What I have in this one, I am playing the bigger game on Sunday. I have 7 lineups in this. This is a $15 game. The solo shot, 20. Now I got it mathematically. It's like barely, second place is hardly anything less than first. And third place isn't that much less that it's like, oh, I mean, I'm making it like, well, all but one of them are going to have 3 lineups. So 6 of them will have 3 of them and 2 of them will have 2. Same thing on the quarter game, just buying max. We got some satellites. So decent stakes for the game is what I'll be playing. How do you make a lineup? Well, on here, they just don't have too many pictures being shown on here. I mean, I actually looked on the internet just to see who was starting on baseballpress.com. And then what I'll do is I'll search the pitcher. Does he suck? Is he good? Is he a strikeout guy? So Ross Stripling of the Toronto Blue Jays, as an example. I can see that he's now favored to play. This is at this point where these guys play like 50, 60 pitches, so you're going to get some decent outcomes. And it doesn't matter if everyone gets 30, 60, 90, or everyone's playing the same field, which is why it doesn't matter in that sense. But it's 41 strikeouts in 50 innings. Nothing fantastic, but if you're going to back a particular team, it's an advantage to take the pitcher with them, because if the team scores runs, that increases the likelihood this team gets the points for a win. So I kind of, if I can, in both hockey and in that of baseball classic fantasy, try to play the goalie. It's been hard in hockey lately, though. Oftentimes, I mean, I played the Toronto Maple Leafs today, and I got the shutout. Nice play with the Jack Campbell. But the day before, Freddie Anderson, who's like one of the most coldest goalie in hockey, was starting. I'm like, yeah, I don't want to touch him with a 10-foot pole. He played like shit. And then now the best goal. I love this in Toronto. There's a goalie controversy there, but this is baseball. What's going to be a fun week in Toronto? I live in the Toronto area. So, with that being said, I'm a neutral fan in hockey as it goes. I don't really cheer for. I was born a Canadiens fan, and then that stopped through 1995 to 2000. All right, so I'm looking for that. I'm also looking for crap pitchers, too. If I see a pitcher that's not so good, then I want to get a hitting stack against that team, because they're probably going to struggle. Even in the preseason, just as much in the preseason. Even more, because hitters are going to hit like 7 innings, and they'll be out of the game. Today, just because it was a tough challenge, I was doing a good game, and I wish it didn't matter too much. They did well. But Dante Bichette had an opportunity. He was 2 for 2 with a walk, and he had this reliever, just dynamite, awesome reliever, throwing 101, 102. And he was just pitching fantastic, and they kept him in. I'm like, I would have done the same as a manager. I mean, not often you get a test of that nature. You might as well take advantage of what you're doing, huh? And the pitcher destroyed Bichette that at bat, but that was cool to watch. I got hockey and baseball to watch more at the same time, but there was no major hockey for me today at once, so it was fun watching baseball for a change, and for the first time on the season. All right, so we got this Pavetta guy, 17 strikeouts in 15 innings. I just know for now he's starting. I'll look more at this tomorrow. I'm going to do a bunch of lines. I'm going to look at all the different pitchers. There was one game where both pitchers weren't even announced, and I'm going to look tomorrow, see who they are. If I see that they are a good pitcher based on ERA and walks and hits and stuff like that, then that's an advantage. And then strikeouts are a big point. So if I see that they're good for a round or better than a strikeout an inning, then that gives me a big advantage. This guy's pretty good. I think the Pittsburgh pitcher was just terrible. And let me just see who was starting for Pittsburgh. Will Crow. 11.88 ERA. Not much for data, but I like Baseball Reference, and I'm going to copy his name and take a look. I haven't looked at Baseball Reference for him, but then you can see information to see any info on here, because all I got is 8 innings. But among the 8 innings, he allowed 14 hits, 13 runs, 11 of them earned, 5 home runs. Walked 8 guys, and he struck out 8 as well. Yeah. Okay, this is Hockey Reference. I need a bookmark for my Baseball Reference. Not like I'm as... Okay, so let's take a look at this Will Crow guy. I'm going to be clicking on his minor league stats because he has nothing now before 2020. So you see a pitcher that's coming into the league, and I've never heard of him before, which is quite often. I remember Luis Severino comes in his first start, and I'm looking at his minor league stats. I'm like, oh my goodness, this guy's going to be good, and he was. And I played him big from his first ever career start on. Although I wasn't much of a big player back then. I've pretty much been one of the best players. Return on investment wise, I'd have to think. And one of the top players on DraftKings since 2020. But where's his minor league? There's a little button I usually click here for minor league information. More Crow pages. Kind of right here. I got a partial screen, that's why, because of the recording. Normally so it's a little different for me. So I want to look at what he does in the minors. I want to look at mainly even this last year, like recent stuff at a good level, AA and AAA we got here. And 6.17 ERA and like 10 starts. That's pretty sad. 54 innings. AA 406, nothing great, not horrible, not the worst. Okay, don't do that. Okay, where's the strike hits on here? Do I have to right here, I can go like this. That's batting, I need pitching. So here's where's the K per 9 we're looking for? Strikeout per 9. Decent for strikeouts, but nothing fantastic either. I mean, he's never getting out of that 9 number, and only his best seasons are in the 8s. His whip is what I'm looking at, and his home runs in 9. Ooh, that 5.4 is just horrible. Even 1's not good. Anything over 1's not good. 0.5, 0.6 and under is all-star numbers. Whip 1.7, 1.3. This guy sucks. He's terrible. Boston stack. It's got to be the only way. So as I look at this, it's got to be playing Boston hitters. And here's the thing about the preseason. Everybody has the same price. And this is an interesting thing. I noticed this in the NFL about half a decade ago. And it's easily exploitable. What I'll do is I'll be on there in the morning. Game time is like 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock. So 9, 10 o'clock lineups will be coming out. Who's hitting first? Who's hitting second? Who's hitting third? Who's hitting fourth? That's like, you need to put in a catcher, first base, second base, third base, shortstop, outfield, outfield, outfield. You can make a puzzle game out of it. How many 1 to 4 combos of 2 teams can you do? Some teams you can do. Some players like Vladimir Guerrero will have 2 tags of first base and third base. And he looks fit, literally. He looks great, Vladdy Guerrero. After he looked horrible last year. Comes into camp last year like way overweight. And didn't have the greatest of seasons despite the team making the playoffs. And now he's like, not only does he not look overweight and he's lost weight, but he looks in fantastic shape. And he's just playing amazing right now. So whatever Blue Jays are out there, I'm on the homer side. I'm going to go with Blue Jays. And it looks like the Blue Jay Red Sox. But I just like, there might be a few lines I don't play the Blue Jays and just really pound the Red Sox stacks hard because they should take that Pittsburgh pitcher. Let's just go over this Delbeck guy, Bobby Delbeck. This guy is just sick crazy. Last year, and he's just doing it in the preseason too. His actually minor leagues was good. They weren't nothing like this. I mean, they were really good, but he wasn't crushing it like this in the majors. Last year, 263, 8 home runs, 16 RBIs, averaging 9 fantasy points a game. He got those 8 home runs in 80 plate appearances. Here are the numbers on home runs. If you can't get a home run in under 20 plate appearances, you're not a very good major power hitter. You got to break that 20, under 20, and do it good. Even that 16 RBI number, that's really the key number. Hit a home run every 16 times you come to the plate. If you can do that, then you become a premier home run hitter. But if you can crush that number, Aaron Judge was pretty much doing that for a while. And then Trevor Story comes in the league for Colorado. Fantastic, fantastic results. Well, 8 home runs is 1 in 10. And he's got like 5 or 6 already in the preseason this year. I don't know who this Bobby Delbeck guy is. I don't even know if I'm pronouncing it right. I'm probably not. Although Bobby, I probably am. And he's been hitting and this is what was a little kind of interestingly frustrating, but whatever on this. He's hitting like 8th or 9th or 7th in these lineups. And who's heard of Bobby Delbeck before? And the only way you can find, and it's not like you can go on the stats and see that he's like kicking ass too easy. It's not easy to find. You don't got preseason stats and on here. They're not showing it on DraftKings. But if you're able to go to a website, which is what I did, and I just look at, let's see who's got the most hits, who's got the most home runs. And that's what I did just to see. And, who's Delbeck I look at. Then I see he's hitting 8th or 9th a couple days ago. Or the day before yesterday. I didn't win much yesterday. I think I won yesterday, but I only won like 10 or 20 bucks. But Delbeck just seems to be doing it. And he was 18% owned. Which I was kind of hoping to be like 6 or 4 or 5. I knew there'd be enough people that would see it. So I'm going to put a Boston stat together. I'm going to put a Toronto stat together. I'm going to look at the other teams. I'm going to keep it going. For myself, risk-reward management is always job number 1. I have an obsession within mathematics and bankroll management. It is sick, but how geeky it is. But it's a lot of the geeks out there know what they're doing, have done very well. But understanding, when I say risk reward management, it's understanding both levels, which is why I felt I did make a mistake today in not playing the bigger game today. Because when you're in a situation where you just don't lose and you're just consistently winning, then you realize, okay, of the profits that I've included, how much can I do in that? And if I play these extra games and I lose, how am I going to bet the next day and so on? How am I going to handle my losing streaks? Well, I planned them out and I've lived through a few of them. Thankfully, there hasn't been too many recently, which has been spectacular. But how do you react to those situations? But then how do you react to the winning situations, the reward management aspect? And okay, so I bet him at X amount and so on and so forth. And if I win this, I got the potential where I can get this, or I can play this game that I want to play. I can play this big tournament. I can play this big satellite. Say it's in poker. I can play this big $200 game, or I can play this, or I can go on this big cash game for today and give it a shot for this. And then you're knowing in advance what your risk tolerance is. And you obviously, when you're playing that, you know what your future reward tolerance is. Because an example of that is, say you win like $400 or something. And that was just an amazing situation. So you play a $50 game that you normally would never play. And if you play these extra games and it loses, you stop doing it. Now you're up 250, up 300, yada, yada. You keep on going. Or now you play a $20 game instead if you want to have something fun. You play that type of game you normally wouldn't play, some sort of specialty game or something. And then you just lower it down on the way down. But you play the $50 game, like, okay, what's the reward management? What am I going to get out of it? What can I win? And say you do win big on that. You win $2,000. Okay, well, maybe I'll withdraw $500. And there's this $200 thing that I want to play. And then you just look at the situations. Oh, if I lose that $200, I got to go down to that $50 game. Oh, I lose that 50. You're going to just do whatever. You understand the numbers the best that you can. And you look at best, worst case scenarios. And I've done a lot of computer programming even in the past. And that was one thing about blackjack that was very interesting, that when I looked at those scenarios, and I looked at the reward management especially, it was like, this is not my game, even though I can literally play it perfect. And that's cheating to play it perfect, because what would I do to play blackjack perfect? Well, I would log on to a website that has a live casino with a webcam, and then I would sit on the tables and I would be using a computer Either I'd be entering a computer to put all the variable of cards that have been entered, which would then tell me all the information I would need to know, which is what my count is, percentage of everything, of all likelihoods, percentage of blackjack, percentage of busting, percentage of these likelihoods. And it would tell me what to do in difficult situations, like 16 versus a 6, and there's 13 versus a 3, stuff like that. Situations where it's really marginal if you hit or stand and all this, and it can work either way. It's pretty much not going to change your ROI much either way. Those types of situations. It can give you, it's a majorly good play to hit or stand at that time. And I can even do kind of perfect counting in my head. And I'll even tell you the count right now. If you know the MIT system, I'm going to tell you one that's a little bit better. MIT is a school, I think I think it's in Massachusetts. But that's what they do, is whenever they see a number deuce through 6, they add 1. And whenever they see a 10, jack, queen, king, or ace, they subtract 1. Positive count is good, negative count is bad. The higher the positive is, the better the bets are, and the same thing for negative odd being bad. So plus 8, plus 12, you're plus 15, you're kicking ass for a spot. You bet big, and you got a better return on investment. Well, the same numbers I use the same numbers as far as what plus 8, plus 12, and all that means, but I count differently. 2s through 6s, I'm going to add 1 as well, but I'm also going to add 1 if a 7 comes. I'm going to add 1 if an 8 comes, and I'm going to add 1 if a 9 comes. I'm going to subtract 1 if a 10, jack, queen, or king comes. But since I've already added 1 with the 7, 8, 9, those additional 3 that I subtract, that I added on those cards, I'm going to have to put on the ace. But aces rule. And aces are so much more superior. Pretty much 4 times more superior than a face card. That within my advanced computer programming, I realized that that's a much better count. So then what I did is I made a computer program. And I already know, and I did the base strategy for what to hit, stand, and double, and surrender in all situations. I know, at least I got it written down for the ones from some I can't remember that are close. But I know all situations what to do. So I tell the computer on a program, what I want you to do is bet this percentage if the count is at this number. Like if it gets to a plus 8, do this. If it gets to a plus 12 or 14, do that. If it gets to negative, you bet this low. And I do realistic ones you could bet. And what I came across was my system was consistently profiting 10 to 12% more than the MIT one. And we were 1, 2. And I did about 5 or 6 different ones that I could find. As many as I can find. And mine was superior. The MIT one was second. And then there's another one that was pretty much in the same area as well that finished in third. I think I did tested with 5 that way. But simple count, 2 to 9, you plus 1, 10, jack, queen, king, you minus 1, ace, minus 4. And then you'd go on to one of those online casinos. And then literally you can count cards without even sitting at the table. Like, I mean, you're literally you're watching it, and then if it's like negative count, you don't play. And then it's pause, you sit down and you put your bets in and you play. But then after doing all my simulations over and over again, unless I could literally have like 10, 20, and then you got to pay for it, 10, 20 employees working for me, or you need to get the amount of sample size of hands that I need to be happy with was just impossible for me to reach. So I'm like, I'm not going to do it. I mean, and I did try it, and then I'm like in the calculating advance. No, in my luck, this is just, and my luck is very volatile and weird. It could be good or bad. It's been good in fantasy right now, and cryptos as well. But it's volatile luck, to say the least. But within it, I looked at the odds of what it would be like to have the bad runs. Because like I said, I want to look at all outcomes. What's the likelihood that I get good situations and I get my ass kicked and this and then I'm getting, you know what, it can happen. 6% here, 3% there, 1% there, 1 in 400 that, and all these things. Realistic, especially when you talk about the 6, 8% and whatever. Well, that happened. And and what I did with that, I only made a few bets, but I would literally write down what I bet, what my hand was, and every single card that was out of the shoe. I had that information, I kept it, because literally I'd be on a computer with like an online sports book with a casino, and I mean, you have stuff like minimum bet like $5, maximum bet like 500 or 1,000 or 2,000. It's like, okay, how fast are they going to kick me off if I truly go like $5 when it's like bad count and like $1,000 on high count? Are they going to kick me off? Okay, and then I thought if I do it, be careful. I never did, but be careful. Get a good betting strategy so that you can win the most before they get pissed off at you. See where I'm profiting now, which is daily fantasy, the site itself, which is DraftKings. Well, they're at the house. They win no matter what, like a poker tournament site kind of deal, or poker site, because the losers are the ones that pay me in this game. I mean, quite frankly, DraftKings is making a lot off of me too. On every day, what do they make off me a day? Let's just calculate that. On average, they're going to pay me back, I'm going to have to say $3, $4 back a day. Maybe 5, 6 even. 7 even. 7. Maybe even 8. 6, 7. Minimum 6, 7, 8 back. Okay, anyway. So how much do I pay a day? Probably like 100. 70, 80, 100 bucks a day I pay them. And they pay me back in reward bonuses. So they're making like 80 bucks a day off of me, which is, I make more, but still, that just shows you what they're making. But they don't need to, I mean, it's not a problem for them because, I mean, maybe the only thing is there's more losers when I play, but that's just how it goes. If you take me, and I know, I can give you, I'm not going to say the names of it, but there's 3 or 4 other names in hockey of people that I know. One personally, whom is actually doing very well in hockey. And then you take us and then what everyone else is doing, everyone else is just getting their asses kicked. And that's just as it goes with that. And I think there was one other thing I wanted to say. Probably not too important if I don't finish it off within it. I was talking about volatile luck within this before. Because I do have the most weirdest of luck and that I've seen before that can reach both good and bad. I had a very interesting bad luck streak in hockey earlier this year. It was one of those, I was trying to just think of the math. I mean, it's just lottery-like odds. And it was fascinatingly, amazingly traumatic in a sense. Just traumatic, like as weird as it is. Like, how can I be getting these breaks? I mean, in the sense, like these bad luck, and yet the breaks in the sense of how can I lose like this and my bankroll doesn't take much of a hit. That's what's impressive. And I was saying that because I'm looking at the spots of like 6, 7, 8, 9 times in a row where I got unlucky. And I'm thinking, what are the odds of having that happen? Because I used to make bets. I don't make these much anymore. Ever since the sports shutdown last year. I used to make them all the time before, but that's where I would do what they call an Ontario Pro Picks, where you play like 9, 10, 11, 15, 12 games, whatever. If you win them all, you get the most right, which is pretty much winning them all, you can win a 4, 5, and maybe even 6-figure payout. And you have to get them all right. So a lot of times I'll take a team, and I'll take a couple underdogs, maybe a team that's like a 40% chance, 30% chance, and maybe another 44% chance underdog, then a 52% chance, and then favorites all the way up to like 90 or 80%. Likelihood of winning, of course. And you got to get them all right. But I'm thinking, how can I lose? How can I be like a 60, 70% favorite to do really well, and then lose like 4 in a row, and then have like all this happen? It's like, this is like 50,000, 80,000. When I say lottery like odds, I mean for my kind of lottery where it's like not like 649, get 15 million in one. I'm not talking about that lottery. Like, although I wasn't far off from that, I think either, where it had like a 5-6 day run, but I haven't had really any bad streaks. And that was like the 2nd, 3rd week of the season back in around the Super Bowl time. Yeah, right after the Super Bowl. Because that Super Bowl, at that time, I think I was up like, and this is like 3 weeks in the hockey season, like a few $100s. And now I'm up like 17.5 or something. Depends on how this game's going. I've had a really good day today. I won in hockey. Although I got a little unlucky in hockey. I mean, only a little unlucky because I was in a situation where when you're winning in a hockey game, when you're playing one game, oftentimes you're like, okay, I don't need any more points by anyone, so don't score any more goals. So it was 4-0 in a hockey game at the end of the 2nd period. I was winning. I'm like, I don't want any more goals. Well, the final was 4-1. So, I mean, there's another goal, and I end up, well, if it's 4-0, I probably would have won like 1,200, 1,300 profit, and I end up winning like 200, 300 profit on that game or whatever. I finished in like 3rd place or 4th place. I don't know. I did well enough. But, yeah, if you're looking to become an advantage gambler, Understand your bankroll management, a plan to win. Get good at the game. Understand where your weaknesses are, your opponent's weaknesses. That's the thing about game theory. Understand, maximize your strengths, minimize your weaknesses, but try to improve your weaknesses. And then your opponents. Maximize their weaknesses and minimize their strengths. So where in fantasy are you see the mass people doing it wrong, and where can you exploit that? I know how to exploit it in hockey, and I've done it very well at it. Because when I figured it was October of 2019, and I thought, hey, if it's this type of game, if I play this type of way, it might be good. And then the more I was looking at it and thinking, and then I started doing computer work, wow, not only was I right about that game, but more kind of games. And if I just adjust it this way and this way, and I'm looking at this, this is getting exciting. And then the first month of playing at micro stakes, like $5 a day, kind of fun, I had a run where I basically turned a $20, like a $30 bankroll, $40 bankroll, like 80, fell back down to like 30. And I looked at it one day, like 3 or 4 weeks in the season, and I'm like 2 or 3 weeks into doing like hardcore like spreadsheet and computer programming work. And I'm pretty much done what I need to do at this stage too for the work. And I'm seeing, well, the last week or two has just been pretty similar to the second week of the NHL season, where I was getting some pretty bad luck. One way or another. One funny way was I fell asleep and the goalie was different, and I ended up min cashing it. And if I would have changed the goalie, I would have finished in like second or third. It was like, and I only put a quarter in, so I knew I didn't care if I fell asleep because it was only a quarter. And then there were so many other ways. Oh, let's only bet on this team, and that team lost. And there's just other ways. And I actually oftentimes can win betting on both teams. It's easy to do. But I looked at it and I seen I'm up $1 or $2. And I've had this kind of bad luck, and I'm actually up. And I'm thinking all the times I play poker, and I had this kind of luck, and every single time, 100% of the time, my bankroll got crushed, destroyed. And I say crushed. It's like an intermediate short-term look on the chart, if you will. But maybe I'd have a bankroll of like 1,600. Next thing you know, it's down to 1,175. It's like, come on, this sucks. And here I'm at the stage where every time I get bad luck streaks, it's like my bankroll is the same. It's barely higher. Or as was the case in the second week of the season, that started off at like 2,400. I think I got it up to like 36 and it was down to like 28 or something. And I'm like, it's at $2,800. I'm actually up on the season still, and I'm losing like this. And then at that point, at the Super Bowl, I just been rolling on. But back in 2019, after that run when I was noticing that I was barely up, well, I won like $60 that day. And then I won like $100 the next day. My balance is $600, $800 after like day 6. Like 8 days in a row, I couldn't lose. Every day was a winner. And the interesting thing, there was one day there was 2 games. The first day, I lost one game, there's 2 games. I lost like 150 or so in the first game, and then, or whatever number it was. But I won one more on the second one. But every day I couldn't lose. And then from that point on, some very interesting streaks up and down that got very interesting. But it was always like, get my bank up to 4,000, and then I'd be on a bad luck run. It would just stay between like, of course, it'd be withdrawals along the way, but 4,000 down to 36, up to 4, down to 32, up to 36, up to 44, down to 36, and up to 48, 44, grind higher, not barely winning, but I'm like losing on my games though. Oh, I just won here, up 8,000, 10,000, 15,000, 13,000, 15,000, 14,000, 15,000. And then you just go on a big run. And a lot of times I'll win $1,000, $2,000 in a day, and I'm just not going to give it back. It just doesn't, not much of it anyway. If I have a bad luck streak, for me to win 1,000 or 2,000, I'm going to have to like have a really bad lucky streak now. 2, 3, 4, 5 bad days, and that just doesn't really ever happen. Because oftentimes I'll bet like $400 on a game or $500 in a game, and maybe I will win 1,000 or 1,200. But then maybe I'll lose 200 or 300. And that's oftentimes what happens when I lose 400. Very rarely have I had like 80 to 100% losses on a game this year, which has been magnificent. I had a lot of them last year. Or a lot more of them anyway. And therefore, whenever I get the big wins, I'm able to protect them at an enormous rate. Through 2000 to about 2005, when I had to do the day job kind of, although I did work night shifts more times than not. 90% of the time, close to 100% of the time I work nights actually. 98% of the time I work night shifts. I was doing training on being an advantage gambler, trying to work towards consistently being able to pull off 20% return on investments. Whether it be poker, sports gambling, traditional legacy sports gambling. And over a very long period of time, I never really was able to do it at a good, consistent level. Poker was where I first got it going. Multiple reasons why I stopped playing that. And I'll still play it a bit. I actually played a nice little poker game a couple days ago, and I'm going to play a poker tournament in 7 days from now. But I don't play much. When I looked at the gains that were available, I never ever would ever assume that consistently grinding a bankroll win of like 70-80% return on investment to come into play. And they're very hard to find. I got to think the easiest way to do it is find where your skills are in something, and if you can get it, you can get it. What I'm not doing where I know it would be available right now is in cryptocurrency trading with a thing called NFTs. If you can figure it out, I think there's a shit load of extreme profits that can be had. Cryptocurrency trading in many ways, and I've been doing it that way as well, and I've been doing so fantastic at it. There's multiple ways of getting what can be done for extreme return on investment. And if you parlay it correctly, you can make some monstrous gains. Of course, I'm always a believer of protecting profits and things like that when you can. And but that all works in risk-reward management. Risk-reward management as far as protecting a little bit, making sure however your portfolio gain is that you can't really lose it all. But reward management, making sure that you're building your portfolio so you can continue to even build it much, much larger. Especially, I've got a friend who got a bankroll starting with nothing and has made like a few $1,000s just doing nothing before. I never was able to accomplish that goal of turning nothing into 4 figures. The highest I turned 0 into was like 800, I think. And even then, I'm just pissed off. That 800 turned to nothing though. But I've had my share of 500-600 ones. Not many, maybe 10. Not even that, maybe 6, 5, or even 4 times going to nothing. And that's usually when having like $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 bankrolls other places was normal. Back when I was playing poker, back in those days. And but to turn $50 into 5 figures, yeah, I've done that. I'm doing that right now with this here. So many times in poker where I build a bankroll where I put like $100 in it, and the amount of times I've turned into 3-figure scores, I can't even count how many times I've done. Well, even 4-figure scores. It's a pretty fun game to do. But quite frankly, it can also get kind of combination of not really boring, but loss of the thrill in playing. And then you combine that with the fact of when your finances increase, you get to this stage where there's just so many jobs you just won't do because you just won't pay me enough for it, because why would I do it? Where before I would have, because I would have needed the cash. And in a situation like this I'm getting to the point where there's going to come a time, and I know I'm going to be doing this in regular season baseball this year just because I don't like the game as much, where I don't put as much time or aggressive lineups into it. Like baseball, I'm putting 7 lineups in tomorrow. Even that's a medium amount. Hockey, I'll do 20, 15, 20 lineups a game. And sometimes even higher than that if the situation appropriates itself. And to have that many combinations in, and to put this extra work into it, and I can sometimes don't need to, you're always going to have to put work into this, I suppose, but to do all these extra lineups is a lot of work. So a lot of it is, can I do making 4 lineups or 2 lineups? It would mean I have to bet about 25-30% less. And I'm going to have, I was going to say the Variance could hurt a bit, but not really when there's like 100 plus games this season. All right. Thank you for tuning in. And if you have any bankroll management questions, anything at all like that, please feel free to do so in the comments section below. As yeah, it's an interesting situation we are in now. I watch sports games where they're promoting. It used to before they would totally be way against gambling. It seems now they're heavily promoting it. It seems I find that very very interesting. Talking about sports betting and even fantasy stuff, it's pretty cool. Thank you for tuning in. Have yourself a great day. Bye bye.